everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sherry if you're new here. So today's video is for all the pet owners out there. I want to touch base on things like what you need to bring your pet over here if you're visiting, and also things like, vet care, food, grooming, all the different kinds of services that are offered here. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you definitely would have seen my two dogs. Here's one of them, the other one's sleeping, but here's Blue, and yeah, we'll let Sunny sleep. So to jump right into it, one of the questions I always see is, how do I bring my pet over here? Like, what do I need? And for me, I drove my car. So I drove all the way down from Vancouver down to Cabo San Lucas. And the only really problem I ran into was when I crossed the border from San Diego into Tijuana. So that was 10 years ago, and when I drove across, there was no border control agents. So when you cross, you just kind of end up on a highway. So there was two checkpoint agents, and they told me to go to the next town and to stay the night there as it was getting late in the day, and they had an immigration office over there. So I did get everything sorted out, but at that immigration office, they didn't want to see the documentations for the dogs. So, go figure. But if you guys are crossing over that border, just a tip, you want to stay in the very far right lane. It says something to declare, and that will take you, when you cross the border, onto the right hand side where the immigration office is. So as far as paperwork goes, for flying and or driving your car over the border, you need a health certificate. That's only for flying. As of 2019, Americans and Canadians don't need a health certificate if you're going over the border by car. You need all their shots up to date, specifically a rabies vaccine. They need to be dewormed and also free of any external parasites like fleas and ticks. Vet care here is pretty affordable, definitely compared to the United States or Canada. You pay around 500 pesos for a consultation, depending on your vet. The vet I go to is actually really good and very convenient, so I don't actually need an appointment. So I just go there, they put my name on a list, and I go outside and wait. Usually it takes about 20 minutes or so. And that's actually a common thing, at least in my neighborhood. All the vets, the waiting areas outside on the sidewalk, so they have chairs and benches and things like that for you to sit on. And if you guys ever run into a problem after hours, there's also plenty of 24-hour vets there as well. Knock on wood, you don't ever need to go to one, but yeah, they're there if you need them. So for prescriptions, medications, to save a little bit of money, you can also go to a vet pharmacy. And yeah, they also sell things non-prescription as well. Some of them are like a pet store with a pharmacy on the side of them. And just to give you guys an idea of what things cost over here. So antibiotics, I believe I paid for my dog last time was like 300 pesos. Most recently, they both started having seizures. And let's see here. I don't know what this actually says, but they got blood work and tested for 3 different things. And in total for the blood work, the 3 tests were 1,800 pesos. And then the seizure medicine, which I buy at a normal pharmacy that we would go to, that costs 400 pesos, so about $20 US for their medicine right now. And just like medical tourism, veterinary tourism is also a growing industry here. And just a few weeks ago, I met a couple. I believe they were from California, and they were down here for their dog's medical care. They said an MRI in the United States was 3,000 US, and over here it's $500. So here you can find specialists, for oncology, neurology, dentistry, things like that for your dog. If your dog's ever in that situation, or your cat too. Sorry, I'm a dog person, so I always say dog. But for your pet, you can find specialists down here and save quite a big chunk of money. So along with veterinary care, there's also pet insurance, which I never knew was offered here. And there's quite a lot of options for you to choose from. And even foreigners can purchase it for their pets as well. But I do believe you have to be a resident in order to buy it. And just to give you guys an idea, there are companies like BBVA and MapFree. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. They also offer annual plans starting at 2,400 pesos. So that covers things like veterinary expenses, vaccines, and grooming. I'm going to list all the companies that offer pet insurance down below in the description. So, and just to give you guys another example, there's a company called GNP, and they offer coverage for medical expenses for accidents, non-preventable illnesses, theft with violence, funeral expenses, and also lost pet assistance. And they have plans, basic plan, premium, and a plus plan. So, and again, those will all be in the description for you guys. And just to circle back on the lost pet assistance that they offer. So my dogs are microchipped. They are microchipped back in Canada, but here that's not really a thing. People don't really have their pet microchipped. But knock on wood, you never lose your pet. But in case maybe you find a pet that's lost, they have Facebook groups here where you can post lost and found pets. So it's quite helpful. So a while back ago, I made a video about grocery shopping here in the city so everyone can get the idea of the cost of groceries nowadays. And at the end of the video, I went to Petco so you guys could see, the different brands that they carry and the cost of cat and dog food. Pretty much they carry all the same brands that you would find back in the United States or Canada. However, if you're looking for a higher grade quality of foods, there's a few Mexican companies here. One is called Pet's Table, it's quite popular. So it's made by canine nutritionists. It's 100% natural, made with fresh ingredients. So when you go on the website, you choose the flavor that you want. You put in your dog's weight, and you can choose either by bi-weekly or monthly for the plan, and then they deliver it right to your doorstep. There's also similar companies here, Mexican companies. It's called Dog Chef MX, and then there's also NutriDog as well. One of the biggest differences I noticed when living from Vancouver to the city here was the amount of pet-friendly places that there are. It's quite great because when I go to run errands, I always bring the dogs with me, and they're allowed inside. Although if they're not, they usually have something by the entrance where you can tie the leash up to. And nowadays, pretty much all the malls are pet friendly, so you can bring your dog in the mall, walk them on the leash throughout the entire mall, go into all the stores, and yeah, it's no problem at all. Although I do think Perisur and Santa Fe Mall, you have to have them in a carrier or a stroller. I've only ever seen them in strollers when I was there. But either way, it's a win-win. They get their exercise and you get to shop. There's also a department store called Plaza del Hierro here, and it's on the posh side. I've never seen a department store with valet parking before. At each of the entrances, they have dog strollers for you, which I thought was a nice touch. But again, you can also walk them on their leash throughout the store as well. For cafes and restaurants, all the patios are pet friendly. There are some cafes that allow you to bring your dog right into the cafe and they can sit by your table. So it's really nice, working from home and you want to get out of the house and go work at a cafe, and you can bring your dog with you so they're not stuck in the house all day too. If you guys like Colombian coffee, there's quite a good one. It's in Roma. It's called Libertario Coffee Roaster. I'm going to link all the cafes and restaurants down below, so if you guys are ever visiting and want to check them out, they're down there for you. So for restaurants, you can't bring your dogs into the restaurants, but some have pet-friendly menus. There's not a lot of them, but there's a few. One is called Greenway Restaurants, located in Polanco. There's Dog and Roll, which I thought was quite cute, because the dog menu is kind of packed together like a kid's menu or a kid's meal. So it was quite cute. There's also Butchers and Sons, Shake Shack, which pretty much nowadays you can find them everywhere all over the city. And the last one I went to for a doggy meetup, it was called Rooftop Beer Garden. So it's on top of a pet-friendly hotel, and they have a beer garden. Beside the beer garden, there's a little playground for the dogs. It's enclosed, so they can play there while you eat your food. No matter where you are in the city, there are no shortages of dog parks. I'd say the most popular ones would have to be Parque Mexico, España, and Parque Hendido. There's also Chapultepec Park, where you can bring your dog, but only into Section 3. And then there are countless smaller neighborhood parks as well. I'd have to say Parque Mexico and España are my favorite, just because the dog park is divided up, so you have a a large dog section, and then the other section is for small dogs only. And if you're not sure what dog parks are located near you, or maybe you want to try a new one, there's an app called Dog App. So it's a map of the city with all the dog parks mapped out on there. If you ever wanted to get out of the city, which is nice, maybe go to a mountain, go hiking, take your dog with you, there's quite a few mountains just on the outskirts of the city. Depending where you're coming from, in the center, they take about 40 minutes to a little bit over an hour to get to. I usually take an Uber, and round trip it's cost me about 500 to 600 pesos, which I know is a little bit more on the expensive side. It's nice to get out of the city every once in a while. But if you do go to the mountains, just make sure to bring some cash with you. Sometimes there's an admission fee. It's not much, it's about 20 pesos, but they don't accept cards. And also for these mountains and parks, trails, things like that, you guys can check out another app. It's called Dog Pack app. So it has all the trails and dog parks. People will post their pictures and comment on them and review them. So it's also a good resource if you've never been to these before. So something worth checking out. So for events, like I mentioned, I went to a dog meetup on top of the hotel at the rooftop beer garden I went to. So I found that on a Facebook group. They also have breed-specific meetups, like a pug meetup, a Labrador meetup, things like that. And you can find those also on like city websites. One is called like Chilongo, the other one, CDMX Secreta. Those are also really good for just any types of events really going on in the city. So they'll also post pet-friendly events on there as well. There are a lot of grooming salons here in the city, and my dogs, being Pekingese, they fit in the small dog category. I've always paid around 500 pesos for each dog to get groomed. I've tried quite a few grooming salons over the years. One of them, I picked them up, and one dog wouldn't walk for 2 weeks, so I'm not sure what they did to, or what happened when he was there. But just like your vet, always do your research, ask for recommendations, check reviews, things like that. The recent grooming they got was at Petco, and I think I'm probably going to go back there again. I know Petco is not everyone's cup of tea, but they had a good experience there. And with them, the one I went to was in a mall, and with all the Petcos, they work in an enclosed glass area, so like everyone in the mall can watch them and see what they're doing. So they also offer higher end grooming salons as well, where you can get facials and paw treatments for your dogs. The department store I mentioned earlier, Plaza del Hierro, they also offer that. There's also a grooming salon. It's called Laos Pet Grooming. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. So they have a service where they pick your dog up from your house, bring them back to the salon, groom them, and then bring them back. So it's a good idea if you're working and you don't have time to take them to the appointment. For getting around the city, you can ride the city buses and the metro as long as your pet is in a pet carrier. And just recently this year, Uber came out with a service. So they have a pet-friendly car. So when you're scrolling to pick what car you wanted to choose, you just pick the pet-friendly one. So for this one, just make sure to book it 10 minutes before you actually have to leave, because it takes 10 minutes for them to match you with a driver. And this service is just a little bit more expensive. If your ride is usually like 70 pesos, maybe it would bump it up to like 95, so not that big of a deal. And if you guys are going on longer trips, they do have, I've only found one. There's one chartered bus that allow your pets. It's called ETM. So the ETM buses will allow, I believe it's just one dog per bus. And when you look on their website, it'll have a paw logo on the routes that are dog friendly. So the dog has to be under 10 kilograms and in a carrier, and it can go in the cabin. Otherwise, your dog would have to go in the luggage department. Also, at DO buses, the pet would have to go in the luggage department unless it's a service animal. So one thing that can be a little bit tricky when you're living in another country or even visiting is looking for a pet sitter. So I know it's probably one of the reasons I don't travel as much as I used to when I lived back home. For my last trip, I found my pet sitter on a Facebook group. So it's a group for swapping pet sitting. So I looked out for a lady's Chihuahua for a week, and then in turn she looked after my dogs when I went to Cancun. This gave me a lot more peace of mind because before she went away, we did some trial runs where she brought her dog over to my house and she went and did some errands, and then my dogs and her dog got, you know, familiar with each other, and I just also got to know her a little bit too over that time. So yeah, that was just gave me a lot more peace of mind. I don't have to worry when I'm away on holiday. They also have apps like in the United States. I'm not sure if in Canada they have it, like Rover. So they do have apps like that here as well. One of them is called Pet Backer. So I've never used these apps. I can't vouch for them. But just like your vet and your groomer, you want to vet those people before, you know, dropping your dog off there. They'd also have pet boarding facilities as well, where dogs are in like an enclosed kennel run. So you can find those here, as well as some pet stores offer boarding as well. I went to check one of them out. It was a nice pet store. It's on the newer side, and in the back it was quite cute. But the thing I had to pass on was because the dogs are pretty much in the kennel all day. They only let them out for like an hour or two with their specific, you know, playtime, and then they would put them back. So I'm not sure how many playtime they get throughout the day. So that was a hard pass for me. Plus my dogs have never been really in a kennel. But with the boarding, they do have webcams, so you can check in on your pet all throughout the day, which is a nice feature. So if you're looking to adopt a pet, every Sunday in Parque Mexico they have an adoption fair. You can also find them in the smaller parks too sometimes, but every Sunday you're guaranteed some Parque Mexico. So there's lots and lots of dogs and cats, also lots of puppies and kittens there too. Just keep in mind they've never had any vaccines. They've probably never been to a vet before, so that is something you would have to take care of on your end. And all the rescues there too do accept donations. So often I will bring, if my dogs have extra leashes or blankets, toys, things like that they don't use anymore, I'll bring them down with me, and I'll always like stop at Superama on the way and get them some dog treats and cat treats for them as well. But if adoption is not really your thing, they also do have the CDMX Indie Foster Network, so you can check them out on their Facebook group. And also too, I've seen on Facebook quite often, there are groups that get together on the weekend and go volunteer dog walk the dogs at the local rescues. If that's something you're interested in, message me below and I'm sure I can find the groups that they're posted on and put you in contact with them. Well, that's about it for this video, guys. If you have any questions, maybe something I never touched base on in this video, comment below and I'll definitely answer you. But I hope you guys liked the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.